Dear chess friends, welcome to Jozarov Chess Channel and welcome to another beautiful game from the AI chess world. Welcome to a spectacular gameplay by Heimdall against the most powerful chess engine in the world against Stockfish 17 in a beautiful King's English variation of the English opening. And I think many of us don't like to play against the first move c4. The English opening has, I think, many theoretical lines that can be played. The depth of the English opening is still something that needs to be explored. So I think still that it's very tough to play against the English opening, and I think this game also is a great game, as I mentioned, with great theoretical value, in which I think you could have a great preparation with the black pieces if you're bothered maybe by the English opening, because here you see Stockfish playing with black against the first move c4. Put your seatbelts on. First of all, great theoretical game, but then again with some great tactical explosions in the middle game stage. So with white, Heimdall opened with the move c4. The fish response was e5, the King's English variation of the English opening. Now we have e3, preparing now the move d4, knight to f6, knight to c3, and now comes this progressive idea with bishop to b4. In some lines, if it's possible, maybe we want to play bishop takes c3 and maybe double up the pawn structure here on the c file. Heimdall is not allowing that, plays now knight to e2. Of course, if you now take with bishop to c3, then white will simply recapture with the knight and will not mess up the pawn structure on the c file. We have castling a3, bishop takes, knight takes c3, and now d5. This is a good move, which makes already here something in the center of the board. White needs now to react, and here Heimdall simply took. We have now knight to d5, bishop to e2, and now c5. And we have now sort of a reversed Marozzi bind setup. If you may be familiar with the Marozzi bind when you're playing against the Sicilian with the white pieces, now black is doing the same. Black has now a great control of the d4 square and has still this powerful knight in the center of the board. The downside for black, of course, is that black lost the bishop pair in the early stage of the game. So if white somehow manages to get this powerful bishops into the game, if they're activated, then black could face many positional and obviously tactical problems in the continuation of the game. So here, castling knight to c6, normal development, and now b4. Very interesting move here by Heimdall. Seems like a mistake in the beginning, because this b4 square is taken now 3 times by black's activity, but this is a great move here by white. So you see this engine, which we're covering now for the first time, this engine Heimdall, around 3,600 rating points, is playing here really ultra aggressive chess against the most powerful chess engine. So here after one b4, let's see now options for black. If you, for instance, play c takes b4, then knight to d5, queen to d5 leads into this line where you cannot simply take the pawn on b4. Then bishop to a3 is simply pinning the knight. Even if in some lines, if you play something like a5, bishop to b5, then of course you lose here the rook on the a file. So it's not working. Great move, as I mentioned, b4 here by Heimdall. Stockfish is not falling for that, plays now knight takes c3, b takes c3, and now bishop to f5, simply developing now the minor pieces here on the most active squares. And this move bishop to f5 is also great because it is occupying now many light squares here on this diagonal. And also we have to mention there are a couple of light square problems already here on the queen side. The downside again also for white is that although you have the bishop pair, this bishop on c1 is simply not participating in the game. It's still blocked by its own pawn structure, so it's very hard to activate it now. So let's see now how white make progress now in this position. What should white do? If you take the queen here on d8, this wasn't playing the game, but this doesn't bring you anything. For instance, if you play rook takes d8, then you try maybe b5, but now notice after knight to a5, there are these light square problems that we have discussed, and there's not so much that can be done. I think here black is taking over. Black should be much better. Even if you take, for instance, b takes c5, then you have this messed up pawn structure. Okay, you are up a pawn, but then knight to a5, and again b3 weak, c4 weak. In one moment, I think we will go for the lines like bishop to d3, bishop takes d3, rook takes d3, and then you play something like e4, keep this bishop out of the game, and then when the knight comes on c4, I'm not seeing good ways how white is going to make progress. So it's already, I would say, a much better position for black. Even in this line, for instance, even if you give up here the pawn on c5. So that's why with the bishop here on the board, Heimdall tried to keep some kind of an opportunity played now, queen to a4, try to keep the queens on the board. But now Stockfish plays an interesting e4, keeps now this pawn very active and has now a space advantage. Now suddenly black has at least something to attack. This pawn is very annoying to handle because in order to maybe kick it away with another pawn with the move f3, then obviously you're going to weaken the structure in front of your own king. So that's why e4, good move by the fish again, and now rook to d1, hitting the queen. But now the queen comes actively into the game, and suddenly I would say black has the initiative here. Black has some kind of an opportunity. Okay, maybe white can do something on this side of the board, but it's already very unpleasant to handle this attack here by Stockfish against white king. Rook to d5, sort of an idea to attack this pawn, but also keep this bishop stuck to the queen. But now knight to e7, great move again by the fish, giving up now the pawn on c5, but now kicking away further the rook. The issue is now that you cannot keep this rook on the fifth rank. You would love to keep somehow this bishop neutralized to keep it out of the game, but then with queen to f6, actually the rook gets trapped. Even if you try to protect it, then a6 leads now into this line, and again I would say black is completely winning even in this scenario. So keeping here after move b6 the rook on the fifth rank is not possible. So that's why here Heimdall had to play a seemingly active move, but now it seems to me also that the rook is a little bit misplaced there. It will not be easy to include it again into the game. And now Stockfish continues with an aggressive h5. This is a great move again, simply pushing now this attack till the end now with this bishop, with this queen, with a potential knight activity. When the knight is also coming maybe into the game, suddenly Stockfish could have 4 or 5 attackers against white king. Bishop to b2, you see how bad this bishop is, simply locked by its own pawn structure, and now Stockfish continues the pressure. Now comes what is, in my opinion, the first really critical moment of the game. Here black has a slightly edge. Black has lost a pawn, but has now a great attack on this on the king side, and it is maybe defendable here for white if white continues with the king to f1. But still, it's dangerous after h3, g3, and some moves like knight to g6, then knight to e5, knight to f3, knight to d3. These are clear targets now in black's position. I would say still black should be better here. Black should be more active here. I would not love to play this position from white's perspective, but maybe this is survivable with moves like, I don't know, rook to c7, then you're trying, I don't know, later c4, activate finally this bishop. But okay, this was the only way maybe to keep this position somehow healthy for white. But instead of this move king to f1, Heimdall tried queen to b5. Obviously, again, with the same idea that the rook had a couple of moves ago, also keeping somehow this bishop paralyzed to the queen. But now Stockfish plays a brilliant a6, and this move I really liked. Stockfish gives up another pawn just to have an extra tempo with the move bishop to h3. Very important tempo for the fish, because now Heimdall has to play moves like g3. You cannot play bishop to f1 here because bishop takes g2, bishop takes g2, and h3 is simply winning the game. So it's not working. So that's why g3 had to be played. But now knight to f5. Now this knight is coming into the game, and suddenly the queen and the pawn and the knight are hitting this g3 square 3 times. What should you do? If you try now rook takes e4 here in this position, this is not working because of this tactic. Knight takes g3, let's see, then you're getting checkmated on g2. So that's why after knight to f5, queen to a5, again, Heimdall is desperately trying to keep this queen somehow neutralized, and that's the beauty about this move a6, that Stockfish gave up simply the pawn on b6, but now Stockfish plays a calm queen to g6, queen to e5. Heimdall is trying desperately to bring the queen into the defense, but now a brilliant move, rook to d8, and hoping to get the rook on d2 and attack both of these bishops on the second rank. And that's a really principled move, bringing the last attacker into the game, the piece that has not participated so far in the game. Now it's getting very actively, and there's not so much that can be done. Let's see options in the game. Rook to e1 has been played by Heimdall, but let's see maybe moves like bishop to f1. If bishop to f1 would have been played here by white, it's not again such a good position, because after h takes g3, h takes g3, now you play knight to h4, and even if you maybe, for instance, pick up here this bishop, then knight to f3 is winning the game. You get the royal fork. So what should you do? You could maybe try queen to e4, then after a couple of trades of pieces, then you get this one, and then bishop to f1, and this is the issue. You get again the fork against both of these rooks. Again, it would be simply game over here for white. So instead of bishop to f1, what you could do is maybe queen to e4 here immediately, but then the rook is coming on the second rank, as we have discussed, and one of these bishops will be lost. So again, I would say completely winning position here for black. For rook from a to d8, that's why Heimdall tried rook to e1, trying to protect this bishop on e2, but now Stockfish plays rook to d2 anyway. We have bishop to c1. Let's see again options. If queen to e4, then obviously the bishop is hanging. So bishop to c1 here by Heimdall, but now Stockfish plays a brilliant rook takes e2. This is the way to go, because the bishop is the key protector of this light course. This bishop is at least protecting somehow the position. Now after rook to e2, queen to g4, the rook is hanging. You have to step back, and now a brilliant knight to d6. Very important move. Obviously, if you play something like here, then this pawn is lost, and white is holding the position around the square g2. So knight to d6, brilliant move. If you take, of course, queen takes d6, then queen to f3 is winning the game. Queen to f4 by Heimdall. Stockfish grabs out the rook on c4. We have queen to g4, bishop to g4, and now after g takes h4, let's stop and evaluate this position. You see Stockfish gained the minor piece. Still white has this light score problems in front of the king. This rook will activate, of course, itself here on the d file, and I would say completely winning position again here for black. But okay, Heimdall battle. We have h3, bishop takes h3, king to h2, bishop drops back, and now f4. Here white challenges black immediately, but you could maybe take e takes f3, but then king to g3, bishop to h5 leads into not such a good position for black. Black is still obviously winning, but the better choice after move f4 is the choice that Stockfish obviously played now calm, rook to d5, because now after a4 it was very important to keep this bishop on this side of the board, because that's the side where white is this 3 versus 1 situation. So now Stockfish is attacking these pawns, and nothing can be done. Stockfish grabbed here all of these pawns, played f6, bishop to e8, grabbed now also this other pawn, traded off the rook, and notice how bad really again this bishop is. It cannot really be included at all into the game. It was a bad bishop strategy from the beginning that Stockfish applied. Now g5, the king gets closer. We have g4 pushing the pawn further. The king has to be closer here. And now after a couple more moves, bishop to b2, knight takes b2, king is getting here. And after a couple more moves, it was a beautiful checkmate by the bishops and queens activity. So amazing English opening here with the black pieces by Stockfish 17. Great tactics, great attack, sacrificing 2 pawns for the initiative, for this attacking chances on the king side, weakening the pawn structure, getting this bishop very active, including all of the attackers into the game. Brilliant. Again, strategic but also tactical game by the most powerful chess engine in the world. So, okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. Really crazy game in the English opening. If you want to see some other beautiful games like this, check out our Comte Chess Games Play by Computer series here on my YouTube chess channel. That's the link to the playlist. And if you like this content, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. See you soon with some more videos. And what do we say in the end? Chess is the best, of course.